And we're back with Myah Bailey. And Myah, you grew up on the East Coast. At like age 12, you were in Hartford, Connecticut, and you come from a pretty large family. I think there was 8 kids. And you started out photographing like Barbie dolls and your brother. Tell me about that.
So I was really close with my brother, and he had a Nikon, I think it's like a F100 1970 Nikon, and we'd go out and we would photograph like flowers and like whatever little kid would want. And I was 12 years old. I was still playing with Barbie dolls, and so I would set them up in little arrangements and photograph them. My brother, being as lovely as he was, he would take the film and develop it for me, and I would pick out which ones, like this perfect one, this one not too good, like that. And that was kind of the beginning of me shooting all the time.
And your gallery is actually named after him, is that correct? Benjamin?
Yeah, it's named after my brother.
Yeah, that's great. So, and then at age 15, you moved to Michigan. You started attending 2 high schools, I believe. How did that work?
So, the high school that I went to, they didn't have an art program that I wanted that another high school had. So, they just passed like this, I don't know if it's an ordinance or a law or what it is, that you could take classes at the community college. So then I wrote a letter to my principal and asked if I could take classes at another high school in the morning and then come back to my high school in the afternoon so that I could get to that. It was like a production, graphic design, and it was the kind of the first real digital kind of class, and I really wanted to get into it because I thought I was so set on being a graphic designer at the time, and I was thinking, I can get right in and I can start doing all this digital stuff. It'll be great, for my whole career.
Right.
And I had all these plans in 15.
15, of course. Yeah. You got the world figured out.
The whole thing figured out. And so that's how that came about.
Okay. That must have been difficult. I mean, attending 2 different high schools. I mean, you've got 2 different social circles and all of that. Was that difficult at all, or?
Not really, because the first. So to be clear about the art class, it was a 3-hour-long art class. It was huge commitment. So it takes up it takes up the whole morning hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's basically one class I got to know. It wasn't like I had to go integrate into the whole school.
Okay.
And meet everybody. I barely know anybody from that school anyway, but more people from my actual high school. So it wasn't difficult in that way. And then, it wasn't really difficult driving between the 2. I think it's just because I wanted to do that it didn't feel difficult. I think if it was something I was forced to do, I would have been fussy about it.
Yeah, been a lot more of a stress. So you were doing photos also for the yearbook there.
Oh, yeah. At my high school, I did.
At your high school, yeah. And so you were able to kind of continue to do your photography, which you were passionate about. And how involved were you with the yearbook? I
just photograph all the time. I mean, they give you unlimited amounts of film. And so for a teenager, you're like, oh my God, you're just gonna let me get into the film fridge?
Yeah.
So I would just go in there and just grab a ton and then just shoot all the time.
Because this was before digital. So I mean, you didn't even know really what you were getting until it was developed.
Yeah, which I feel sorry for some of the rolls of film I took were horrible, like completely underexposed or terrible shots that I didn't really know what I was doing. But luckily they would bear with me with that.
It's just all part of your progression. So then you went to Eastern Michigan University and studied fine arts. And your focus, though, was on digital photography there?
Yeah, so when I first started, I just had a BFA, I was just going into just that. And I hadn't decided. I was kind of flirting with the graphic design major, and a friend of mine was like, well, if you're going to do graphic design, you have to do the photography. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with photography? And she was like, just do it. So I was doing it, and I was like, this is great. I mean, I love shooting. I was like, I'm not going to do the graphic design. I'm just going to go straight into the photography, and that's when digital was really starting to
take hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about the theory-based program, which was also one of the main reasons you went to Eastern Michigan? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a really theory-based program, and I love it. It's the idea of focusing on the idea of your work over the actual techniques that you're doing, which they had an odd combination. They just got a new professor, and he was very digitally focused and very strict in all of your processes. So I thought that was great, and he was theory-based. So I thought this is a great combination. I can really learn how to make a great series, how to technically do really well, which is a huge part of photography. I would hate the idea of not even knowing how to actually shoot after coming out of school for 4 years. So I really love that aspect of it, and I also love the idea of being able to put meaning behind my work and be able to convey ideas through my work.
Okay. And then after you graduated, you were living in New York, but you were working in New Jersey, and is that right? Or you moved to New Jersey?
I lived in New Jersey and worked in New York.
Okay. Yeah. You moved to New Jersey, worked in New York, and you were doing tabletop photography.
Yeah.
What is tabletop photography?
So tabletop is just, think of anything that can fit on a tabletop.
Okay.
It's still life photography.
Okay. Like, so product shots and things like that?
Yeah, product, shoes, bags, cologne, anything little. Jewelry, but I wasn't that into jewelry. Shoes were my favorite to do.
Shoes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Why shoes?
Because they're just simple and they're beautiful. You got great angles, and I love working with like glossy shoes and getting like that really sparkly finish off of them. And it's just a fun thing to shoot. It's very satisfying. It's just one of those things where it's like, you know that you're going to get the right shot of it. You know it's not going to be incredibly difficult, but there's a slight challenge to it, so you feel good about what you've done.
Cool. Well, but you guys, you and your husband, sort of the hectic lifestyle of the East Coast, or at least in our opinion out here on the West Coast, we think it's a hectic lifestyle. You guys felt maybe you wanted to get out of that. Is that right? And so that's what brought you out to the West Coast?
Yeah, it was. I love the East Coast. I'm from the East Coast. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was on the train. My commute was about hour and a half in the morning, hour at night, just on the train.
Wow. And
it just gets old, you know. I just started to feel like I just don't want to deal with this anymore. I wanted something where I could relax in the morning. I mean, I was getting up about 5:30 and then to catch like the 6:04 train. So my shower was like non-existent. It was just water running over me, and then I just run out the door.
Yeah, no time for sitting around and having that morning coffee.
Oh, absolutely not. That was unacceptable. Like I mean, embarrassingly, I was drinking Dunkin' Donuts. It was right across from the train stop, and I'd go and grab it, and angrily too, I'd grab it, get on my train, get to work. Yeah, it was a total thing that I wasn't into.
Right. Well, we'll talk a bit after the break about how your life has kind of changed since you've come out here to the West Coast and how that's working out for you. So you guys, Myah Bailey is on the show. We'll be right back.